I don't actually know, so
Right.
I guess I better not,
Okay.
not say if I don't understand.
And I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming, because you said that they have peer-to-peer programs on these devices.
I'm just saying that was at his recommendation that I use those. And so and I don't know at what point.
Let's leave it at that,
right.
Based on your description of
Right.
it. And what would you say the usage of the Tor?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it more for the business or is it personal? And look, I promise you, we're
I mean,
not,
so I can't.
We're not here.
I can't speak to that because you have my laptop, you have my phone, so it's probably split, down the middle.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday, February 8th. A couple weeks ago, the Daily Mail got a hold of the audio recording of Josh Duggar and what he had spoken when he had spoken with Agent Faulkner and ACOC back on November 8th of 2019. Now, the portion that they provided online, the Daily Mail, was around, I think, 20 so minutes, 8 minutes, I don't even remember. And there was portions of the interview that had been either cut out or just were not shared. So today I was online looking at the records of the court, and I noticed that the transcript from a hearing back in September of 2021, when they were going over some motions where Josh was attempting to get the case thrown out, they actually have an entire transcript of that audio recording. And on that audio recording, there were some key parts that I thought were like, whoa, this wasn't in the audio recording. This is interesting. So you guys have already heard the audio where he says, I'm not denying my guilt. I just don't want to say the wrong thing. Some of my friends have gotten caught up in things. And there were some questions of like, who are all these friends that got caught up in things? What is this all about? Why is he asking all of these questions? He sounds super guilty. Throughout the transcripts, which by the way, that hearing, the transcripts are 308 pages. So we're not going to go through the whole transcripts of the call. In fact, we're only going to talk about one part. At the very end of his interview, so for the better part of, I don't even know, I'm guessing that this interview happened maybe around a half hour, 45 minutes. Josh was having a sort of normal back and forth with the agents as they talked about and asked him questions about the car lot, about passwords, about aspects of, who might have passwords, about content that might be found on computers, his knowledge about different programs, if they would find any of those programs on his computer. They talked about Wi-Fi, passwords, all of that. Throughout the entire time, Josh denied repeatedly that he had anything to do with this or that he knew anyone that would be doing this. He did throw out a number of different employees that worked for him, but throughout the interview, he refused to name names. He did name one person, which was William Mize, who was not at the car lot and was ruled out by the prosecution. So they were not allowed to use him as a third-party guilt for his defense. So Josh repeatedly throughout the interview was trying to say it could have been someone that stayed at his property or someone that was at the property or someone that had access to the computers or had access on the Wi-Fi. From the very beginning, Josh seemed like he was trying to set up that someone else had accessed the content in the event that something would be found. As the entire interview was wrapping up, I did think it was interesting though, because Josh, towards the very end of the interview, he started throwing out names. When somebody is kind of in a heap of trouble and they might want to show that they're connected or that they know people. That's what Josh was doing at the very end of the interview. And he started throwing out friends that he knew that were in high places. And he also asked for the case to be sealed. Wanted this hidden from the public is basically what I'm saying. And I guess part of me is like, I shouldn't be surprised that this is what he would want. I shouldn't be shocked that he would ask for this. But at the same time, it coincides with what a lot of my sources have told me repeatedly, is that Jim Bob and Josh did spend quite a bit of their time trying to cover up or hide things that he was involved in and keep it out of the public eye so that they wouldn't harm the show. So on the very end of the interview, on page 103, they're about to wrap up, and this is how it goes. Josh says, "Appreciate y'all. Yeah, appreciate. Thanks for explaining it all to me." And then Agent Faulkner says, got it. And he said, I guess what is the process from here as far as this? Is this sealed? I guess, is this a sealed case? Or what is the deal? So he's not worried about, what the process is for the investigation. He wants to know right off the bat if the case is sealed. That's so weird, right? They talked about his phone and how he couldn't have his phone back, but his question is, will this be sealed? And Faulkner said, yes, as it stands right now, this is. And Josh interrupted him and said, so how does this? And Faulkner said, I believe the sealed case, correct? Josh Duggar, okay, how does that work as far as disclosure of this? Because just for me, if this is disclosed, it's going to be substantial. He knew that because of who he was and what he had been previously involved in, that if this was publicly disclosed in November of 2019, that this would be a substantial risk, not only to his family, it would hit the media, it would go all over the news, and he wanted to mitigate that risk. Agent Faulkner said, we're trying to avoid that, obviously, because what I just told you. And Josh said, because really, can my attorney move for a motion to keep it sealed? I don't, even at some point, the thing is, even just the allegations for me. Faulkner said, oh, absolutely. And Josh says, it's just horrendous. And Faulkner said, absolutely. I can't imagine, And Agent Faulkner says, this is what we'll do. I'm going to give you my name, number, and email. Josh says, okay. And I'm going to give you the U.S. attorney who is assigned to this case. And Josh says, okay. And he says, to give to your attorney. Is that Dak or who is that? Throwing out the names he knows. And he says, no, Dak is the overall U.S. attorney, one of the assistant U.S. attorneys. Assistants? Okay, yeah, says Josh. And Faulkner says, actually, do you have a card? Aycock says, yeah. Oh, look at you. Faulkner says, look at this guy. He's got cards. Awesome. There we go. There you go. You don't get my stuff. He's even got the shiny, yeah, man, came out of the POC, says Aycock. You got the big budget right there, says Josh Duggar. Came out of the pocket for that. Well, I worked with Ken Cuccinelli for a little while too, and he was the acting director of USCIS, I guess. Says Aycock. But anyway, yeah, he was the attorney general up there in Virginia. So again, throwing out somebody he knows. But yeah, anyway, I think he was telling me about how they get all of these, all of their budgets and all of the things they waste money on. And then the things that you really want, you don't get. Okay, so Josh says that he wanted the case sealed right off the bat. While he's asking that, starts throwing out district attorneys that he knows, people that he knows in Virginia, people within the federal system that have worked in trying to show that he has connections. He says to the agents that the allegations would be horrendous for him, the allegations alone. And he said, can we even move at some point to file a motion? Before the case is filed, before anyone has been indicted, before anyone is named a suspect, he is already asking for his attorney to file a motion to seal it. Again, let me add this. If you were completely innocent and you knew that you had done nothing, why would you be asking if your case could be sealed when you don't even know if there's going to be a case coming, but you are asking alone if the case will be sealed? Josh and his parents had his case sealed and expunged after what came out related to his sisters. Records that happened with Josh related to, in 2006, the investigation and the Department of Human, the stuff that happened in the juvenile courts have been sealed. So for years and years and years, we have not had access to anything to do with Josh, and he has been able to live with the knowledge that conduct that he was involved in was being protected by the court. And before he even has a case, before he's named a suspect, before they're looking at him specifically, he is asking for the case to be sealed. Okay, that part stuck with me. I want to wrap up this specific video with one other tidbit that I thought was extremely odd for him to ask, and it had to do with content that could have been potentially found on his computer. So at a point in the interview, while they're talking about what they might find on his computers, and they're trying to give him an out, Agent Faulkner says this to him: let me be a little more specific, because the video and images that I'm specifically talking about is something that cannot be misinterpreted as, say, a 21-year-old who's dressed as a 15-year-old. We're talking about children, ranging in the ages from 5 to 10 years old. So has there been anything in the past that you maybe have seen that somebody else has been on their laptops in passing by that had inappropriate, by definition, CP images of kids ranging from 5 to 10 years of age? And Josh said, I would rather not answer. Josh had answered a lot of questions and had been very, very forthcoming, but when asked specifically about content and if that content would be on there, he declined to answer. Now, under the Fifth Amendment, he does not have to answer. He can decline to answer any questions that he thinks might be incriminating. But it is interesting how when he was asked pointed questions about specific content, that was when he said, I don't want to answer that. And they said that was fine. And he said, I guess I can say is, I don't know to my knowledge. There's not been anything accessed here, okay? I just get a little worried about, I'm just saying, I'm a little worried about some things that were left undone, and there were people on premises that I did not realize had access to certain things. So he said he wouldn't want to answer the question, but then followed up by saying that there could be content found because other people were on the premise that he didn't know about. So it seems to be, to me, that Josh knew what was going to be found on the computer. He was aware of what he was looking at. He was aware of what was accessed. He was aware of all of these things. And he, in an effort, tried to paint the picture that all these other people had access to his computer. And then at the very end, after giving up all this information to the feds, says, can you seal this case so that it doesn't get out to the public? Because it would be really substantial for me. Could you imagine if the Duggars would have managed to keep this case sealed? Could you imagine if they would have been able to keep this hidden like other things? Do you think we would be in the same place we are today with the Duggars off the air? Or do you think they could have been perpetuating the same ongoing lie of being the good Christian family that had nothing going on in their lives? Is this the act of someone who is innocent, or is this just confirming his guilt? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.